topic, unit number 7, about topic area 2.1 price theory. Remember that we are on microeconomics as a topic area 2. So we have studied microeconomics after studying introduction to economics, and now we are on unit 7, equilibrium and price determination, but through price theory. So welcome back to our new topic now, equilibrium and price determination. What is equilibrium? What is price determination? We shall see it in this unit. So we shall see meaning of equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. We shall see equilibrium equations as 7.2 and unit 7.3, effect of changes in demand and supply on equilibrium. What are the effects of change in demand and supply on equilibrium? Remember, we have seen change in demand and change in supply. We shall see the effect of them. Increase in demand, decrease in demand. We shall see increase and decrease in demand. We shall see increase and decrease in supply, and we shall see change in demand and supply by the same margins. So after that, we are going to see unit summary and unit assessment. So welcome back now. Unit 7, equilibrium and price determination. What is equilibrium? As a key unit in our competencies, by the end of the unit, you should be able to determine the equilibrium position in the market. So after analyzing this unit, we shall see you should be now you should be now the determination of equilibrium position in the market. Kuvuga ngo turatumenye equilibrium, kuba ikintu kiri equilibrium, kuvuga ngo ni ikigereranyo cyangwa se yano kigereranyo nkuko tugiye kubireba y'ibintu bibiri, A and B. Now, as an example, meaning of equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. So as an example, you can see activity 7.1 as in on this video. You can see there is 20 kilograms for B and 15 kilograms for A, to mean that this is a quantity 1 and quantity 2. So A and B, if it's 20 kilograms, it exceeds 15 kilograms, to mean that it will pull down number A. So that's why this graph that you are looking here is what we call equilibrium. Yeah. So now you are going to study this diagram above and give the reason for inclinations. This inclination, what makes inclination to be available about this graph. So B, supposing object A represented by the number of kilograms brought by suppliers and object B represented the number of kilograms demanded by buyers of a particular commodity in a market. Explain what will happen to the price of such a commodity. So what can be done to bring about a balance between two objects, as we have seen. Number B, you are going to suppose that A represented the number of kilograms brought by suppliers. So B, object B represented the number of kilograms demanded by buyers of a particular commodity in a market. Now, explain what would happen to the price of such commodity. Kuvuga ngo niba A ari object ari commodity zazanwe no suppliers ku isoko, none B zikaba ari biro mu buyer cyangwa se umuguzi ari bukenere ku isoko. None usobanura ukuntu biri bube igiciro kiraba gute niba umukiriya akeneye ibiro 20 kandi ku isoko hari ibiro 15, noneho igiciro cy'izo commodity biragenda bite? So see, what would you do to bring the two sides to balance? Niki uri bukore kugira ngo noneho ibyo bintu byose bibe balanced, ibiro byo 20 by'umukiriya akeneye n'ibiro biri ku isoko 15. So as discovery, we have so far looked at demand and supply in the previous unit. Yeah, we looked at how quantity demand and the quantity supply related to price. We have seen it. We explained how each of the two changes and what happens to the curves whenever there is a change in any of the two variables, in this unit, we shall see how interaction of demand and supply brings about the point of stability in the market where the two forces are equal. We shall also look at how a change in one or both of them affect the price in the market. So what is equilibrium now? Equilibrium is a point of stability where forces that exist tend to remain constant without any tendencies to change. No kuvuga ngo ni point aho hari stability cyangwa se hari forces ziringaniye, nta kintu kiri bumanuke cyangwa se ngo kizamuke, nta guhindagurika kwabayeho. That's what we call equilibrium. Equilibrium occur when different forces acting on the center tend to be equal. So there is a balance between the two forces. Hari forces ebyiri ariko zose zikaba ziringaniye nkuko tubonye mu rugero haruguru, ibiro 15 biri ku isoko n'ibiro 20 biri by'umukiriya akeneye, none ukabibalansinga ku buryo ki byose biri buhure, ibi byose binyuze mu giciro. In economics, we may look at different kinds of equilibrium. For instance, there is equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity, equilibrium level of national income, equilibrium of an industry, equilibrium of a farm, and an employment equilibrium. Those are the equilibrium that we shall see in this economics. In Unit 5, we look at how prices are determined in the market by the forces of demand and supply. Buyers meet with the sellers in the market and each negotiates to satisfy his or her interests. Buyers want to maximize satisfaction at the lowest possible price. Sellers want to maximize profit by selling at the highest possible price. Yes, we have seen it. When the market forces are left to operate freely without any interference, there will be continuous adjustment until a point where stability is attained. So, now, activity 7.2, price per kilogram of meat. This is an example that you shall see and answer the questions that are below. Quantity demanded of meat per kilograms and quantity supplied meat in kilograms. Those are an examples. So, basing on the knowledge you derived from previous two units, use the information in the table above to illustrate the supply and demand curve on the same graph. It is very simple. So, do it on yourself. On your graph, identify the equilibrium point, equilibrium price, and equilibrium quantity. So, activity 7.3, given that when the price of meat is 2,000 francs, quantity demanded is 190 kilogram and the quantity supplied is 130 kilogram. For any 100 Rwanda francs increase in price, quantity demanded reduced by 4 kilograms, while quantity supplied increases by 8 kilograms. In a group of 4, derive a demand and supply schedule using the above information. Use it to determine the equilibrium price and quantity in the market. Illustrate your findings on graph. So this is an example about what the unit that we have covered and that we are studying now. So discovery, equilibrium price is that price lowering in the market where quantity supplied is equal to quantity demanded. Kuvuga ngo equilibrium price ni cya giciro kiri ku isoko ariko aho quantity supplied ibi iri ku isoko, ibicuruzwa biri ku isoko by'umucuruzi yazanye bingana n'ibicuruzwa by'umukiriya akeneye. Is what we call equilibrium price. So at that price, the amount of commodities brought to the market by suppliers is wholly bought by the buyers, leaving no excess or shortage in the market. Yes, equilibrium price is quantity equilibrium price and quantity occur when quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied. Only that. From the table in the activity above, as the price keeps increasing, buyers are willing to purchase less of the kilograms of meat. On the other hand, suppliers are ready to bring more and more to the market as the price increases. When the price reaches to 2,500 Rwanda francs for a kilogram, the quantity demanded by buyers is equal to what is supplied by the sellers at 170 kilograms. At this point, the market is said to be in equilibrium. So, increase in supply shift the supply curve to the right. This will lead to increase in the equilibrium quantity and the decrease in the equilibrium price. So an increase in the supply of commodity may be brought about by an increase in the number of producers, improvement in technology, entry of new firms into industry, decrease in taxes on producers which reduce their production cost, favorable natural factors, increase in demand for the commodity, change in income of the farm, decrease in the prices of factors of production, or increase in the price of jointly supplied commodities. Those are factors that lead to increase in supply, that lead to shift the supply curve to the right. So this is how it looked on the graph. So when supply increases, the supply curve shifts to the right from C1 to C2. I mean supply 1 to supply 2. Similarly, the equilibrium point is extended from E1 to E2. This leads to increase in equilibrium quantity from OQE1 to OQE2 and decrease in equilibrium price from OPE1 to OPE2. You have to see this graph. So now the decrease in supply shifts the supply curve to the left. The equilibrium point contracts to the left. This leads to decrease in equilibrium quantity and increase in equilibrium price. A decrease in supply of commodity may be brought about by decrease in number of producers, decline in technology, exit or new firms from the industry, increase in taxes on the producers which increases their production cost, unfavorable natural factors, decrease in demand for commodity, change in goals of the farm, increase in the prices of factors of production, or decrease in the price of jointly supplied commodities. Those are factors that lead to decrease in supply. So those are an example of the decrease in supply and the contraction of equilibrium. So when supply decreases, the supply curve shifts to the left from supply 1 to supply 2. Kuvuga ngo igihe supply cyangwa se ibicuruzwa ibyo musuplyingwa byagabanyutse, none the supply curve shift to the left. Kuvuga ngo irajya ibumoso uturutse kuri supply 1 to supply 2. Similarly, the equilibrium point contracts from E1 to E2. This leads to a decrease in equilibrium quantity from OQE1 to OQE2 and an increase in equilibrium price from OPE1 to OPE2. Change in demand and supply by the same margins. When both demand and supply change by the same margins and in the same direction, the equilibrium point changes. However, the equilibrium price remains almost the same. The equilibrium quantity either increases or decreases. Ni ukuvuga ngo mu gihe demand na supply byahindutse muri margins imwe mu buryo bumwe in the same direction, equilibrium point irahinduka. However, the equilibrium price remains almost the same. The equilibrium quantity either increases or decreases. Yeah. This is a graph that shows how equilibrium changes when demand and supply change at the same margins. Due to the factors that influence both variables, those factors that we have seen, the increase in demand and decrease in demand, increase in supply and decrease in supply, the factors that lead those both to change, the two may change by either increasing or decreasing. If the two change in the same direction and by the same degree, the equilibrium price remains constant. So when demand increases from D1 to D2 and supply changes from C1 to C2, and remember D is demand and C is supply. I mean S is supply. The equilibrium point extends from E1 to E2. The equilibrium quantity increases from OQE1 to OQE2, but the equilibrium price remains constant at OPE1. So as I recall, in a marketplace, different people with different backgrounds, behaviors, character, and interests meet as either buyers or sellers. In this era of HIV/AIDS, which advice can you give to such congregation as an economic student? Yes. This is a recall. You have to think about these questions. If the marketplace, different people with different background, behaviors, character, and interests meet as either buyers or sellers in this era of HIV/AIDS, which advice you can give such congregation in as an economic student? Now, unit summary. In the whole unit, the following were covered. Muri ibi byose biri aha ngaha unit summary twabonye byinshi bigiye bitandukanye. There is equilibrium, we have seen it. Equilibrium price, shortage in the market, surplus in the market, equilibrium quantity, change in demand and supply, effect of change in demand and supply or equilibrium. Kandi twabonye as a unit assessment, twabonye equilibrium equations as we have seen. So distinguish between equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. Yes. 2. Given the schedule below, derive a curve illustrating the equilibrium. Kuvuga ngo in graph, in schedule, I mean, igaragaza equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. We have a price, the first column, quantity supply, the second column, and quantity demanded at the third one. Given the function that quantity demanded minus quantity minus 4 pi, as you are looking here, quantity demanded minus 4p equal to 136 and quantity supplied equal to 6p plus 12 4. I mean 124. So now determine equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. 2. Illustrate your findings on the curve. Kuvuga ngo ahangaha dufite quantity equilibrium, dufite quantity demanded, baduha equation ya quantity demanded arumko ni quantity demanded ukuyemo 4p na ingana na sa 36 cyangwa se 136 bagaduha na quantity supplied. Noneho uziko equilibrium quantity kugira ngo uyibone nuko uri nkuko definition cyangwa se ubusobanuro bwa equilibrium bivuga ni igihe quantity demanded ingana na quantity supplied. Kuvuga ngo urahita ufata iyi equation ya mbere uyinganyishe na equation ya kabiri ngo ni quantity demanded equal to quantity supplied, then use equations to determine equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. Remember this p, that this p in above equation is standby price. That's why it is called quantity. So 4. Increase in transport cost, reduce the supply. Increase in transport cost reduced the supply of milk by 20% at constant prices, while decrease in consumers' disposable income reduced the milk demand by 10%. So, illustrate the above market condition in relation to equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity of milk. So, this is the end of our topic, our unit number 7, equilibrium, about the equilibrium price and quantity. So now this is the end. If you have questions, please give the questions through comments and subscribe when you see this, helping you subscribe and share to our colleagues so that they can see what is being learned here on this YouTube channel. Thank you very much. Bring your ideas to this YouTube, whether you liked and where you shared. So thank you very much. If you have questions, answer and we shall respond. If you have any inconvenience and any understandable and misunderstandable well, so please give us a comment and we shall see how we can respond to you in a timely manner. Thank you very much. Remember to subscribe. I am your teacher, Ndayamba Jerukara. Thank you very much. Now, this is a graph that shows equilibrium price and quantity. So now this point E shows equilibrium. So now where E, equilibrium point where quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied, 2,500 equilibrium price, 1,700 francs equilibrium quantity. At the equilibrium point E, quantity demanded and quantity supplied are equal, as we have shown here on this graph. To mean there is demand and supply, as we have seen. So quantity demanded and quantity supplied are equal to point E. However, there could be disequilibrium where the two forces are not equal. That is right. A disequilibrium may be either shortage, excess demand, or surplus, excess supply. So when quantity demanded is greater than quantity supplied, then there is a shortage of commodities in the market. Kuvuga ngo iyo quantity demanded iri hejuru cyane quantity supplied, icyo gihe haba hari shortage of commodities in the market. Kuvuga ngo ibyo abantu bakeneye niba ari byinshi cyane kuruta ibyo biri ku isoko, ni kuvuga ngo ibyo bintu byabuze ku isoko. So in the figure 7.3, quantity demanded is Q2, but quantity supplied is Q4 at price P1. As a shortage of commodities in the market implies that buyers will compete for the available few commodities, this scenario leads to an excess demand. So they will be ready to pay a high price. This excess demand will lead to price increase. Yeah. So when quantity supplied is greater than quantity demanded, igihe rero quantity supplied none ariyo iri hejuru ya quantity demanded, kuvuga ibiri ku isoko biri hejuru biruta ibyo abantu bakeneye, ibyo nibyo babita there is a surplus of commodities in the market. Ibi ngiri rero biratuma igiciro gihita kimanuka hasi. Ibyo baba byite igiciro kirahita kimanuka hasi kugira ngo abantu babone ko ibintu byabaye byinshi ku isoko. Ibyo biratuma habaho excess surplus. Yeah, this excess supply of commodities will force the price to go down. Suppliers will be ready to reduce the price of their commodities so that they can attract the buyers. Yeah, in the long run, once excess demand and excess supply have been dealt with, the market will remain in a state of equilibrium. This is an example based on the graph and based on the example that we have seen above. So we have a price, we have equilibrium price. So this is excess demand and excess supply. Excess demand twabonye yuko ni igihe quantity demanded iruta quantity supplied. Ibyo abantu bakeneye biruta ibiri ku isoko. Niyo bita excess demand, ni kuvuga ngo abantu bakeneye byinshi cyane. None excess supply twasanze yuko ari igihe ibintu biri ku isoko biruta ibyo abantu bakeneye. That's why this is excess supply and the excess demand. This is the difference between the 2 points. So equilibrium equations. So if we have quantity demanded of 2 minus 4p, quantity supplied equal to 2p minus 6. So then this is going to help us to do what? We have 24 minus 6p as quantity demanded. We have quantity supplied of p plus 10, and we have p plus 36 in the quantity demanded, and 4p plus 1 quantity demanded. Use the function in the table to determine whether there is equilibrium in each set of equations and illustrate your findings. To mean that you will, and remember that equilibrium, as a definition, we have seen that quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied, is what we call excess. I mean equilibrium equations. So to mean that to find equilibrium, you shall use equal, the signs of equal. So the signs of equal, these will indicate what is equilibrium price or equilibrium. To mean that if we have 2 minus 4p equal to 2p minus 16, now use equation to determine equilibrium. So Now we are going to see the effect of changes in demand and supply on equilibrium about that one. So there is increase in transport costs, reduced the supply of milk by 60% at constant price, decrease in consumers' disposable income, reduced milk demand by 30%. Examine the above market conditions in relation to demand and supply of milk and the equilibrium point and provide illustrations. In Unit 5 and Unit 6, we look at the changes in demand and changes in supply and what may bring about the two. A change may be an increase or decrease. An increase or decrease in demand is brought about by changes in the factors that influence demand. Other than the commodity's price, an increase or decrease in supply is caused by changes in factors that influence supply other than the price of commodities. In this unit, we shall analyze how changes in demand or supply will affect equilibrium. These changes may lead to extension or contraction of the equilibrium. So first one, increase in demand. What is the increase in demand? Increase in demand shifts the demand curve to the right. It may be due to increase in the size of the population. Kwiyongera kwa demand cyangwa se kwibikenerwa kukwifuza bishobora gutuma demand curve ishiftinga to right igiburyo. It may be due to increase impamvu igiburyo now biterwa wenda no kwiyongera kw'abaturage no kwiyongera kwa income y'umu consumers, kwiyongera kw'imfashanyo zitangwa na government to consumers. Ikindi, reduction in both direct and indirect taxes, kugabanyuka kw'imisoro, reduction in the price of complementary goods, yes, we have seen it, increase in the price of substitute good, a favorable change in the buyer's taste and the preference, or favorable change in seasons. Those are factors that may lead to increase in demand by shifting the demand curve to the right. When the demand curve shifts to the right, the equilibrium is extended. This leads to increase in the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity as shown on this graph. So there is an increase as you are looking the arrow, the two arrows that indicate the increase from demand 1 to demand 2. Yes. So increase in demand and extension of equilibrium. When a demand increases, the demand curve shifts to the right from demand curve D1 to demand curve D2. The equilibrium point is extended from equilibrium point E to E2. This leads to an increase in equilibrium price from OPE1 to OPE2 and equilibrium quantity from OQE1 to OQE2. Decrease in demand now. The decrease in demand makes the demand curve to shift to the left. Increase in demand bituma demand curve shifting to right, then decrease in demand bituma shifting to left. It may be due to decrease in the size of population. No kuvuga ngo ibi bituma factors zituma when there is a decrease in demand harimo kugabanyuka kw'abaturage, kugabanyuka kwa income y'aba consumers, kugabanyuka kwa government kw'imfashanyo zitangwa na government kuba consumers n'ibindi byinshi cyane nk'uko twabibonye. The increase in both direct and indirect taxes, increase in the daily price of complementary good, decrease in the price of substitute good, and favorable change in the buyer's taste and preference, or unfavorable change in seasons. Those are factors that lead to decrease in demand. When the demand curve shifts to the left, the equilibrium is contracted. This leads to a decrease in the equilibrium price and the equilibrium quantity as shown on this graph. There is arrows that indicate the decrease in demand. So when demand decreases, the demand curve shifts to the left from demand curve D1 to demand curve D2. The equilibrium point is contracted from equilibrium point E1 to E2. This leads to decrease in equilibrium price from OPE1 to OP2 and equilibrium quantity from OQE1 to OQE2 as shown on this graph that we have seen. So increase in supply. Now, what is the increase in supply? After analyzing the increase in demand and decrease in demand, what is the increase in supply?